Alright, this is the Charter Arms Police Undercover in 38 Special Plus P. This is Plus P rated. It is an all steel frame. It is the Bulldog frame, and it is a 6-round revolver. So as you can see here, 6 rounds. They're not recessed. The star is recessed. If I can get in focus here. There you go. So the star is recessed, but the cylinder itself is not. A few things to talk about this revolver. I'm going to compare it to its competition in my eyes, which is the K6S, another 6-shot 357, and the Model 10 K-frame Smith & Wesson. And I'll show you where it has advantages and maybe a few disadvantages, and anything it has or hasn't is going to be very small, but in this category, it's the small differences that matter, that make the difference, right? So a lot of people talk about the finish on this revolver. I think it's finely machined. The cylinder has no marks on it whatsoever. Even inside where the ejector rod rides, there's no chatter marks at all. I just fired. It's a little dirty. I did change out the hammer as a bobbed hammer, double action only. It also takes out the hook. You got to remove the single action hook if you change to a bobbed hammer. I also changed the grips. These grips are actually wide. They're wider than the ones that come on it, those like pancake style, but they're shorter. And with this grip, I can put it in a pocket. With the original grip, I can't, even though it's a fantastic grip. This one, and I'll get back to the grip when I compare all three, but let's look again at the finish. Now, you can sometimes see just a little bit. See right here by my thumb, there's just a little bit of that casting marks, that kind of like pebble look. That's from the cast. That wasn't finished. It is a crowned barrel. There's a little bit of a crown on there, which is a nice touch. Aluminum handguard. Most people think, oh, they're all plastic. The super light ones probably are, the aluminum frames, but the steel ones come with aluminum grip frames. And they actually do offer a stainless steel one. If you go on their YouTube page, you'll see that they just announced a bunch of steel ones. I like the aluminum. It cuts down the weight just enough, and it's still metal. I just didn't want plastic. Not that there's anything wrong with plastic. My LCR is plastic, and I consider that a premium handgun. The front sight, you can see, was ground down from the factory. They got it just right. So I'll show you my targets in a minute. Looks a little unfinished down here, but that's actually a good thing because that cuts down the glare. Sometimes you got to pay extra to have that kind of textured, so just leaving it raw works all right. Because the sight is part of the barrel, you can't change it, but it'll never get out of adjustment. So it's a pro and con. If you're going to shove it in your pocket and, bang it around like a carry gun will be, it's nice to have a fixed sight. Smith & Wesson M10 is fixed as well, while the K6S is pinned, so you can change it. So that's nice, so it won't drift. The rear sight, if you hit it hard enough, you might be able to drift that sight accidentally with a drop. But the advantage here is you can put in different sights, like night sights. However, you can get a laser for this, so it's kind of a moot point when it comes to night carry. So I think it's wonderfully finished for the money. Now, this revolver costs, in the $300 range, definitely well south of $400, even in today's dollars, with super inflation, everyone buying guns. K6S, you're going to be over $1,000. Same thing with Smith & Wesson. They came back with a K-frame carry gun, the carry comp, and I was really excited, but it's all steel. It's 34 ounces. That's ridiculous. And you're paying over $1,000 for that. This one's an older Model 10, but it is essentially same frame, as the new carry comp. Of course, the carry comps have a ported barrel and night sights, some other things, but it's a giant brick. It's just impossible to carry, in my opinion, for all day. So this is how I shot with it today at 7 yards. So maybe a tad low, but that's what I want. And you know, there's my thumb. So a couple inches there. That's not bad at all. I shoot the other two handguns very well, and they shoot just about the same. So accuracy is no big deal. It is 8 groove rifling. It's supposed to be better. I don't know if it is or not, but you know, they claim it is. So let's talk numbers. So the Undercover, and I've weighed these and measured them with calipers. These are not stats from the website. Okay, in this configuration with the bob hammer and these grips, it's weighing 19.9 ounces. So that's under 20 ounces. K6S is 23.1, and the M10 is 29.6. So after carrying all three, I can tell you this thing is just too heavy. This would make a fantastic nightstand gun, especially with the laser grip. I don't know if you can see the laser. It's fantastic. It's just so nice to shoot this gun, but it's a brick and it's just not comfortable. There's about 3 ounces difference between the Charter and the K6S. Does that matter? Yes, it does. When you get down in the weight, 3 ounces is a lot. So this is definitely an advantage, especially since I only carry 38s in this anyway. Mid-level, lower 357s work, but I go for the follow-up shots. I'd rather have the control. The barrel length, this is 2.199, so essentially thousandths of an inch away from 2.2. That's more than the other two. The other two are 1.98 and 1.98 as well. So essentially 2. That gives you, again, a little more velocity, and velocity matters. A short barrel, a little bit goes a long way. It could be the difference between expanding and non-expanding. The cylinder, that's the fattest part, hardest part to conceal. That's what you're going to feel. Okay, the Undercover comes in at 1.45, and the M10 is 1.448. So very, very close to the same cylinder width, essentially the same. The K6S, around the part here where it's the fattest, not the flats, it's 1.39, and on the flat, it's 1.338. So again, it's a little bit, but little bit matters. And let's see if you can see it from a side profile. There's the Charter, the K6S. So not maybe able to see it, but you should be able to feel it, and that matters. A little bit matters when it comes to that. But it's not a huge thing. Now, a lot of people say the crane is too spindly, too small, and they think it's weak compared to how large it is on the K6 or the Smith. Now, I measured my LCR, which no one complains about. The LCR crane is 0.190 inches, and the Charter is just a tad bit larger at 0.2 inches. So if this is too thin, then an LCR is too thin. And I don't think either case they're really too thin. So considering the accuracy and all that, let's go back to the grip. So like I said, this one had a little thicker grip. The K6S has a more rounded, a little slimmer grip, and of course this is a steel grip frame. So I would say this grip is a little more comfortable on the K6S. Now you can get a Hogue grip, you can get Ultimate grips, you can get any kind of grips. The nice thing about Charter is every single gun they make has the same grip frame, which means you can put the Bulldog grips on Undercover, you can put it on a Bulldog, anything you want to put you can interchange. With Smith & Wesson, K and L match, but they don't match J, and they don't match the L frame. I would really love rubber boot grips on my L frame. I mean N frame is what I meant to say, N frame, but I can't get it. They don't make it. So it's nice that they all interchange. Let's see, might be forgetting something. Oh, the triggers. First, the trigger guards. So the trigger, the space where you have to put your finger on these two is about the same. On the K-frame, you get a little more room in there. So that's great for bigger fingers or gloved fingers. Not so good for concealment. This gun wasn't designed for concealment, not originally. So it's got a bigger trigger guard. The way the trigger pivots on the K6S and the shape of the trigger means it goes mostly almost straight back in here, and that's why the shape looks like it looks. With the Charter, it has a little more of a rock to it. Now, when I talk about the actual trigger pull, you might be surprised here, but I'm going to tell you completely honestly. The Charter Arms, they claim that they polish their sear, and I believe it, because this gun actually has I would say the lightest pull of all three. The K6S also has a very smooth trigger, probably smoother, but maybe not lighter. But when it breaks, it almost doesn't feel like anything's dropping. You just feel the firing pin, but you don't feel like a smash or a hammer. So you could probably shoot this one maybe a little better, but this one is very surprising. This one is way better than the K-frame. And this is the old school 80s K-frame with the old style hammer. I mean, this one's smooth too, but there's definitely more poundage on this one than this one. And it totally beats the pants off of any J-frame without work to it. You're basically getting a performance center style trigger for a bargain price with this. It is really surprising. There's no stacking, there's no grit. I can easily get it where I want it to fall, aim, and then follow through. I want to do it like that for an aim shot, which is why I don't like the bob hammer. I'm sorry, the spurred hammer. Now this one too, it's easy to get where you want and then let that fall. Get where you want. Probably slightly easier on this one, but this trigger is fantastic. It really is. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I could notice when I first got it, if we'll focus, they did file the barrel right where the forcing cone is. Probably setting that gap, which is nice and tight. There are some filing marks on the back here where they probably adjusted that. None of that matters. Now I will say the barrel was ever so slightly, and I do mean slightly overclocked, I mean to say, where the barrel was maybe turned a little bit too tight, just a tad. Now I adjusted it. I made a little jig, some bushings, and I just turned it myself back to where it should be, and now it's perfectly straight. And it probably wouldn't make a difference. I'm talking less than a millimeter that I turned that barrel. Enough that probably no one would have noticed, but I noticed these things. I looked carefully at them, and it was bothering me, so I just turned that barrel slightly. It's not a big deal. It's easy to do if you know how. I just made some pine, put it in a vise. I stuck like a big 2x2 piece of wood in here. I took the cylinder out, and I just leveraged it with like a 4-foot piece of wood. I just barely nudged it. So like I said, it probably wouldn't have mattered. And I'll probably put a little bit of nail polish like a lot of people do. But otherwise, I know we're getting long here. I'm talking too much. I wanted to get you a good look at this thing. I wanted you to know how happy I am with this. So if this ends up in an evidence locker, I'd be much more happy than if this one did. Because this is a perfect gun. It's a little heavy. It is smoother. All the edges, everything's rounded off. And this one, you don't quite get that same job, but I mean, you put it in a pocket holster, it's not going to matter. Not going to matter at all. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Pocket holster or inside the waistband. Like I said, this one's nice, but you can see it's already scratched up. It's already scratched. Because I use these guns, I carry them. So they're not going to look beautiful. So I'd rather trash my cheap one than my beautiful one. So Anyway, that's 15 minutes. I'll stop blabbing. But there it is, Charter Arms Police Undercover.